A man picked it up because it was beautiful. That was the last decision he made. The shell was mottled brown and white, no larger than a ripe mango. Warm water. Shallow reef. Queensland, Australia. April 1935. He held it the way anyone would. Curled in the palm, turned toward the light. The medical examiner's report, filed days later, became the first formally documented human fatality from a cone snail on record. The animal responsible was Conus geographus. The geography cone. It weighs less than a bar of soap. It has no claws, no spine, no visible weapon. It moves at the speed of a slow walk, when it moves at all. And yet the fatality rate for untreated envenomation sits around 65%, higher than most venomous snakes on Earth, higher than a king cobra bite left unattended. Inside that smooth shell, the snail carries a hollow, needle-like tooth called the radula tooth, loaded on a flexible tube called a proboscis. Alan Cohn, University of Washington, described the apparatus in precise anatomical detail in 1956. His words, a venom duct, a radular sac containing the radular teeth, and a muscular bulb which serves to inject the venom. A biological syringe, cogged, directional, capable of firing toward any point on the shell's surface, including the hand holding it. The strike takes milliseconds. There is no pain at first. No visible wound. Just a faint pressure, like a pinprick through a glove. And then nothing happens. For a while. That delay is not mercy. It is strategy. There is no antivenom. Not for Conus geographus. Not for any cone snail species. Fenner et al., writing in the Medical Journal of Australia in 1989, stated it plainly: death can occur within 1 to 5 hours after envenomation. There is no antivenom available. Science has known the killing mechanism for decades. The molecule library inside this animal has been mapped, studied, and even mined for pharmaceuticals. A cone snail peptide became an FDA-approved painkiller in 2004. And still, no antivenom. That question deserves a real answer. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what happens inside a human body in the 90 seconds after that tooth fires, and why the first thing that kills you is not a neurotoxin at all, but something every diabetic would recognize on a lab report. The accepted explanation is clean. Elegant, even. Conotoxins, a cocktail of peptide neurotoxins, flood the wound site, travel the bloodstream, and jam the body's neuromuscular signaling. Muscles stop receiving orders. Breathing slows. The body shuts down in sequence, like a building losing power floor by floor. Terlau Olivera at the University of Utah spent years proving this. In December 1985, his team published the isolation of omega-conotoxin GVA in Science. The finding was definitive. Cone snail venom was not one weapon, but a library. Olivera later documented that each Conus species produces 50 to 200 different venom peptides. Across 700 species, that represents up to 140,000 pharmacologically active compounds. One snail, one shell smaller than your fist. The neurotoxin model is correct. That part is not in dispute. But here is where the case file gets complicated. Documented envenomation records, including cases reviewed in the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences 2005 compilation of human fatalities since the 1670, show a consistent anomaly. Victims lost consciousness before full paralysis set in. Not after. Before. The muscles were still partially functional when the lights went out. Neurotoxins do not do that. They block transmission at the neuromuscular junction. They do not sedate. They do not switch off awareness ahead of the physical shutdown. That is not their mechanism. A toxicologist reviewing case timelines would expect a specific sequence. Paralysis first, then unconsciousness from respiratory failure. What the records show is the reverse. Awareness gone. Body still fighting. John Paul Bingham at the University of Hawaii, documenting venom deployment mechanisms in fish hunting species in 2010, noted the speed and complexity of the strike suggested multiple simultaneous biological effects, not a single cascade. The weapon operates on more than one front at once. So the neurotoxin story is real, and it still does not explain what hits first, before the nerve agents even begin their work. But here is what nobody expected. The neurotoxins were never the first move. In 2015, a research team at the University of Utah published a paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Helena Safavihimami and her colleagues were mapping the full venom profile of Conus geographus when they found something that had no business being there. Buried inside the venom cocktail was a synthetic insulin analog. Not a neurotoxin. Insulin. They named it Insulin, and it changes everything. Before the Harpoon fires, Conus geographus releases Insulin directly into the surrounding water. The fish hovering nearby absorb it through their gills. Blood glucose begins to fall. Not slowly. Roused. The fish does not flee because it cannot. It is metabolically sedated before it registers any threat at all. In a human, the same molecule does the same thing. Remember the promise from the beginning of this video. The molecule that kills you is something every diabetic recognizes. This is it. Insulin drives blood glucose towards zero in the minutes before the neurotoxins finish their work, which is why victims lose consciousness early. Not from paralysis, from hypoglycemia. The body starves of sugar while the nerves are still firing. The fatality rate for untreated Conus geographus envenomation sits at 65%, higher than most venomous snakes. And no antivenom exists. Not a partial formula. Not an experimental candidate in trials. Nothing. That gap has not closed since the first recorded fatality in Queensland in April 1935. Safavihimami's team confirmed it plainly. The snail weaponized hypoglycemia as a first-strike sedative. The harpoon is the second act. The insulin is the opening. A researcher closes a laboratory notebook. The last line reads a species name and a question mark. She does not reopen it. What the index concludes, Conus geographus does not kill with venom alone. It kills with a two-stage metabolic ambush, and 90 years after the first recorded human death, medicine has no answer for either stage.